Good morning, friends. It's Mike Mutzel and
Deanna Mutzel.
thanks so much for tuning in. If you're commenting, if you're here, actually, let me show the live page. Let me get that. We have a few people on. We're here. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. So what'd you think of that introduction? That was our chickens in the backyard with our show sponsor, Zymogen. We were doing some product videos a few weeks ago, and the chickens just were walking around the videos. So hopefully we're on. Hopefully we're here. I see us. Live, yeah. All right, we're good.
Woo-hoo.
All right, guys. So we are watching the comment bar. If we periodically deviate from the camera over here, it's because we want to check out your comments and reply to your questions and things like that. So it's Mike and Deanna Mutzel. Happy Saturday morning. Hope you're having a great start to your weekend wherever you are in the world. And we're going to talk about fasting and how much fat is too much. You know, that's one of the things that I think a lot of people. When they first get into ketosis, they feel like they need to have a stick of butter per day or a ton of MCT oil, a ton of coconut oil. And we're going to talk about how you can get away with just going low on carbohydrates, particularly the processed carbohydrates. And if you're inactive, you need to reduce your carbohydrates. But we have so many active friends that are not keto at all,
right,
but they eat real food. And so we periodically test their ketones at dinner parties, and they have 0.7 millimolar, and they're eating carbohydrates. So if you guys are here, say hello, type in a question, where you're from, if you've experienced problems with too much fat, and what's your experience with intermittent fasting. So we're going to talk about that. I'm a little congested, so Deanna, we're trying to get Deanna to do some of the questions and jump in here. So Deanna, you have a list of questions. My allergies are kicking up, guys. So let's dive into it.
Where are the questions, Mike?
You have them right here.
Oh, my questions.
Yeah, let's.
All right, Mike. Okay, so we were watching this documentary. I don't know if you guys have heard of this, but it's called What the Health. Have you heard of it? And I don't know, what do you think of it, first of all?
We're going to do a full review on that. I think it's a really good documentary. The first 35 minutes is a little challenging for us, because some of the science, like Garth Davis and some of the others. Hello from Sweden. Hey guys from New Orleans, thanks for jumping in. So we're looking at the camera here, so we don't have to, we're looking at the computer here. So if you see our eyes go like this, we're totally paying attention and present with you, but want to be able to answer some of the questions that you have. So if you're just jumping on, please type in a comment where you're from and your experience with excessive fat and or fasting and exercise. That's what we're going to talk about today. And we're just catching up, for those of you guys that are hopping on, about the movie What the Health. And we've gotten so many questions from all of you on that. Yeah. I think it's a really good movie to watch. Now, if you're a low carb, high fat eater like us, you might be a little bit, the first 30 minutes of the movie are a little bit challenging, right, because some of the overtly biased information, and I'm not discrediting the movie at all. I think it's really good and it gets better over time. Yeah. But it's a little interesting at first. Hey, from Bellingham, Samantha, thanks for tuning in. We want to go to Bellingham on Sunday to do the Skyline Divide hike. Ooh. Have you done that hike, Samantha? Hello from Orlando. Cool. I love Orlando, Florida. I'm there quite often for Zymogen duties. Hello from South Detroit. Thanks for tuning in, guys. There's a really cool community garden right in Detroit, in South Detroit. So I noticed in other parts outside of Washington State, there's so many community gardens. Yeah. We're going to talk about that today, eating low carb. Mm-hmm. But anyway, if you guys are just jumping on, okay, watch What the Health. If you have trouble during the first 20 minutes because it's very biased and very vegan, which, there's a compelling argument to eating less animal products due to the high levels of dioxin, persistent organic pollutants, endocrine disrupting chemicals, And
also dairy. It convinced me. I dropped cream this morning. It was tough.
You're day one free of cream?
Let's not talk about it.
Let's
not talk about it.
Cream Addicts Anonymous.
So I'm doing cashew cream, which I have that recipe in our e-course.
Well, yeah, so this is a really good time to talk about that. So this is what's soaking right now, guys. So this is what we teach you in our e-course. It's going to be hard for me, but this is, if you can't see, do you know what it is?
So I'm soaking raw cashews here, and you don't have to soak these for very long, maybe 3 hours. You can do tons of stuff with soaked cashews, you guys. You can do ice cream.
I'm going to attempt to show you.
Coffee.
Can you see it?
Salad dressings.
They can't see it.
Anyway.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, it's in filtered water. So we go over soaking nuts and seeds, the benefits.
Let's pause. Why soaking nuts and seeds?
Why? Okay, so it's just nuts and seeds aren't activated until you actually soak them, and further step to sprout them. So really, I mean, I'm not sure, like, what are your thoughts on soaking?
Well, it's going to reduce some of the
phytates.
anti-nutrients.
Yeah.
So that's one of the, nuts and seeds can't run around like animals can, or like
Right.
the chickens that you saw in the first part of this video, right? So they need some sort of way to prevent herbivory. And so they have, anti-nutrients on their cell surface. So when you soak them for 3 to 4 to 8 hours, whatever, you can, you basically sprout them.
You sprout them and then you reduce the phytates, which is better for your gut, right? So
Well, most grains have phytates. I don't know if that's not to be nitpicky, proper terminology, but we just say
Real?
anti-nutrients.
Anti-nutrients.
So, there's
That's something
lectins, anti-nutrients, so the soaking can help unlock that. And so the reason why we started talking about soaking cashews is because you're trying to get off dairy, which we do
that was the only
recommend.
thing I
So
had.
dairy spikes insulin. I know it's low
does.
glycemic, but it
It's not worth
spikes
it.
insulin. And you can make some amazing, and we've been making it, amazing nut milks
Yeah.
with cashews, with walnuts. Oh my gosh, that walnut milk you made the other day.
Sprouted walnut milk.
Was
So
so
good.
good.
Add a little vanilla cinnamon.
It was
Our
really
daughter
good.
loves it. Yeah, it's so good.
So the purpose of talking about all of this, for those of you that want to go low carb and so forth, so you're eating real food, and it can get you off that, I have to have a stick of butter per day. I have to have all this MCT oil that comes in a plastic bottle, or
Right.
coconut oil in a plastic bottle that's $12 and so on. So we're trying to give you different ideas to eat more vegetables, because that's the overlying, no health expert will disagree that we all need to eat more vegetables.
Right, and a variety.
Goes without saying. Doesn't
Yeah.
matter if you're bodybuilder, fitness model, endurance athlete. We all need more vegetables. It's
Yeah.
good for the microbiome. It's good for the environment. So how can we do that whilst choosing low carb, high fat vegetables? Nuts and seeds are a great option. They may not be for everyone, but sprouting them, soaking them, blending them, and making nut milks, and the desserts that we share with you guys in the e-course.
Salad dressings. Salads are all about the dressing, you guys.
Oh
Seriously.
my gosh.
Especially when eating bitter greens, if you're new to bitter greens, which are really important too for your microbiome. Dressings, there's so many different creative dressings you can do, which we have in our e-course as well. That'll help you kind of not even really notice how bitter they are. And even kids will. Our daughter eats
Our
them
daughter
too.
is eating
Yeah.
salads at 5 years
Yeah.
old.
Yeah.
We're like blown
loves
away.
them.
We're trying to not make a big deal about it, but it's really cool because, if you're a parent, it's really hard, even if you live this lifestyle, to get kids to eat vegetables. You have to be
Yeah.
very creative. And she started just eating salads. It was like, we're like, oh, Ness, what do you think? We're trying not to get all excited and take pictures because
But we did.
we did,
We
but
Instagrammed it.
yeah.
Of course.
So if we can get our 5-year-old, who she's a real food kid and low carb and stuff, and if we can get her to eat a salad, we can convince your family to get on board. And so that's the key thing here, friends. As you know, you may be on board, but your spouse or your kids or
Right.
other people are not on board. So we're trying to give you tools and tips to help
Yeah.
make this a family endeavor.
And also squeezy packs too. So sort of kind of go off the road here. I have some recipes for those little squeezy packs you can get at like Whole Foods and PCC, but they're like $3 per pouch and they're full of sugar. I have ones that are like, good in fats, no sugar added, full of greens, and Nezzy devours them. They're amazing. So squeezy packs, the silicone things you can get on Amazon. Highly recommend them. They're amazing. Kids just like to hold things and eat them. So yeah,
And,
I have tons of recipes for that.
You can put in a lot of veggies and they'll still eat it. So
Yeah.
that's all on our e-course, guys. But
Right.
let's go back to the questions. There's a lot of questions. Hello from Latvia. Thanks for tuning in. That is so cool. San Antonio, Glasgow. Wow, this is amazing. Okay, it's
Yeah,
beautiful.
oh my
Heading out to go backpack in an hour. Love it. Okay, so Samantha, where are you going to go backpack in Bellingham? That's so cool. I'm a little jealous. We're going to go hike tomorrow. Today's kind of a around the house garden and workout day. Okay, Montreal, Canada. Okay,
Australia.
so Amandine, Amandine, hopefully I'm pronouncing your name properly. Hello from Montreal, Canada. How much fat if I train 30 minutes of HIIT per day in sessions and only need 1 to 2 meals a day to feel full? That's really awesome.
Yeah.
So how much fat to need? Well, how much fat do you need? Well, it depends on a variety of things. What I would strongly suggest you doing, Amandine, is going and watching the video that we just posted like 20 minutes before this with Danny Lennon. So Danny Lennon is the founder of Sigma Nutrition. We interviewed him in Dublin, Ireland, and we talk all about macronutrients and setting macronutrient ratios and intake based upon body composition goals, your exercise, strategy. Are you a boxer, bodybuilder? It sounds like you do HIIT training, and how long your training sessions are. So in the show notes is all the information we talk about. So I would suggest that as a resource. If that doesn't help you, come back after the replay and type in a comment, and I'll try to address that. But I think he does I'm not trying to divert your question at all, but Danny does a brilliant job at summarizing all the research that's available when it comes to macronutrients for hypertrophy, for fat loss, for performance, and introducing a cool concept known as smart carbs. So it's not low carb, it's not high carb. It's strategically using carbohydrates when you have very high, intense, short duration, glycolytic, intensive workouts like your HIIT training. But if your HIIT training is more just for fat loss in general, you may not need all carbohydrates for that, right? But if you're training for an event, you might need or would like to have more carbohydrates in there.
Right. But like 30-minute HIIT training though, like
For fitness, you probably don't need a lot of carbs.
I wouldn't add more fat purposely. I mean, you want to burn fat, right? And most of us, we have reserves. We do.
No way.
I mean,
People
really.
have reserves of fat?
We have
Just
reserves,
kidding.
guys.
71% of all American adults
Yeah.
are overweight or obese. So
I mean,
it was a joke.
yeah, eating fat is going to, it could potentially like help your body burn fat. This is just my opinion, but like, just, allow your body to burn its own fat. I do fasted cardio every single morning with a little bit of not heavy cream anymore in my coffee, but just a little cashew milk in my coffee, and I'll go for sometimes an hour, sometimes 90, and I'm fine. I mean, it might take a while.
You don't bring a Gatorade? Come on.
I don't even bring water, you guys. It's okay. Your body will get you through. You got to kind of challenge your body a little bit. Things are just too convenient around us, like food and water and all these different things. Just like go out, do some sprints, do some high intensity, come back, and then really be intuitive with your eating. You don't have to have breakfast. You don't have to have lunch nor dinner, nor snacks, especially just whenever you're really, truly hungry. And that's really tough. Like sometimes I don't even know if I'm hungry because we're so programmed to eat at certain times. Yeah. Oh no, what if I starve? It's okay.
It's hormetic stress. It's good for your body. It's good for your metabolism. It
keeps you
really
lean. Keeps you lean, which brings us into the intermittent fasting, which I
love. That's really the topic
eating.
that we wanted to talk about, but we're totally open to. We're not
Yeah,
biased and don't want to go down that road, but want to just make sure that we're mindful of the chat. So Michelle says, "Hello from Simi Valley. I just got pregnant on a low carb, high fat diet. Really, really awesome." So, Michelle, if you want to learn a little bit more about that and wondering if nutritional ketosis is safe while you're pregnant and how that can affect your baby, we did an interview with John Rowe back in October of last year. That would be 2016. I think it's episode number 155. I could be wrong on that. Really important to listen to that because he talks about how the ketones can be carbon substrates for the neurologic development in the developing baby. So your pediatrician may not be totally on board with nutritional ketosis because he's heard or she has heard different things about it. Listen to that interview, check out the research articles that are put in there, or share that with anyone that you know that's pregnant because it's really, really important. You can be low carb, high fat, and keto while pregnant or breastfeeding, and you can do your baby some good things.
No way.
I know
It's
crazy,
like amazing.
man. So out there, just kidding. So yeah, this is real science. So Michelle, check it out.
0 carbs. Okay, so this is I saw something.
Okay, let's try and be
Here we
sequential
go.
here.
Canine
Hello from Melbourne,
reporting.
Australia. We love Australia. We've been to Melbourne. It's called Melbourne.
We were in the airport, Mike.
Whatever. We're still there. I mean, come on.
there
We want
in
to go
the
back. We
airport.
want to go to Sydney, and where else do we want to go? There's another city that's really, really cool. Why am I drawing a blank?
Brisbane?
It's not Sydney. No, you know what? We were in Brisbane. We were not in Melbourne. We want to go to Melbourne and Sydney. Yeah, I said that wrong.
We just
I
want to go
apologize.
there. We just want to go there.
We went to Bali, Indonesia last spring.
Amazing. You guys have
Want
to
to
go
go
there.
back? Want to
You
go
have
back?
So spiritual.
Okay, so let's carry on here. K9 Dog Training says, any thoughts on a zero
Zero
carbohydrate
carb
diet?
diet.
Meat, eggs, dairy only? Sorry, K9 Dog Training. If you're a dog, that would work. But since
Yeah.
you're a Homo sapien, you need to have vegetables. You need to have phytonutrients. You need to have color. So meat, eggs, dairy only is not going to be good for your microbiome. That may be good very, very, very short term if you're like trying to cut weight and stuff, but it's not a good long-term health strategy. So that's, again, if you're brand new to this and you hear, if your perception of keto is meat, eggs, dairy, you need to check out our e-course. Just click the link. It's going to be like right here or down below. You need to learn the foundations of the microbiome, how to eat a phytonutrient, fiber-rich diet that is also low-carb friendly, so it will help you burn fat and keto adapt. But meat, eggs, dairy, can't endorse it. I'm sorry.
You'll get constipated, and then you'll need a lot of magnesium. So it just seems really unhealthy.
Yeah, it's not good for the environment. We're not saying that
No,
you
you're good.
can't have, you can have eggs, you
Yeah.
can have meat, and you can have a little bit of dairy in moderation.
Raw dairy if possible, but
Yeah. So hopefully canine dog training, that helps you answer some of those questions. All right. Okay. Any thoughts on meat and eggs? Okay. Awesome. So this is canine dog training again. Sorry.
Yeah.
I think we just addressed that. We love eggs.
We do.
And so in What the Health, there was some research about, well, not research. People were talking about, like, are eggs really a health food and all this due to their cholesterol that they contain? Again, we're going to do a full review of all the science, and I'm going to talk about that next week. So tune in or subscribe to the channel, guys. Next week, I'm going to review all that science, because that research where they talked about eggs linking to heart disease and not being a health food and having all the cholesterol was definitely biased. Now, is there some happy medium? Every third world country you can go to, there's chickens running around, people are eating eggs. You know, we have 19 chickens in our backyard, and if you are watching the replay, you saw in the beginning of this, our chickens, you know, that was Margaret.
I love Margaret.
Margaret.
She's the best.
She's a little slow.
It's okay though.
Yeah.
She's going to be the first one to produce eggs for
We
us.
hope. All right, carrying on. So Samantha says, my parents fed us salads as kids. So really cool about that. Liking veggies from a young age set me up for
Helps.
success.
Yeah.
Samantha, double thumbs up to you. Thanks for that. That's
Totally
really, really
helps when they start young. Really.
cool. Totally.
The taste buds, they're developing then. So
Yeah. Well, and you can see a subjective difference between kids that eat real food versus the junk food.
Oh, yeah.
The bags under the eyes, the tone of the face, hair quality, all that.
What they do in school too. Their
Yeah.
brain,
So key.
their moods.
Hello from Buenos Aires. Thanks for tuning in. This is really cool. I love, the fact that we can stream this from our kitchen and people like yourself throughout the world can tune in. It's so cool. Okay, best cooking appliances, stainless steel, etc. This is really, really good.
Yeah.
We talk about all this and what to buy in the kitchen in our e-course. So click the link here or down below and learn a little bit more about that. For $47, you get like access to over 30 videos.
And we give you free stuff on our Instagram accounts too. So
Yeah,
under
little tips.
Real Food Lab, Metabolic Mike on Instagram. We're doing it on IG stories. We're trying to show you guys more of that. Just tons of free recipes, our appliances, our day-to-day routines, morning and
Like
night.
the salt lamp that's like
The salt
right
lamps in
there.
the back, our new antique waffle maker with no
Ooh,
chemicals on it.
yes.
Super awesome.
Can we make waffles later?
We can totally make waffles later.
Yes.
It's phenomenal, you guys. So again, Real Food Lab and Metabolic Mike, follow us. We'd love to have you join us on Instagram, and we can give you a lot of free tips on just everything, just
to
day-to-day
buy.
life. Yeah, food, mindfulness.
Right, but the e-course contains a lot of the deep dive into exactly what to buy when it comes to
Right.
food and preparing your house for success. So it's not only just the stuff that you cook your
Checklist.
food on, an air filter in the home, right? Your carpet versus hardwood floors,
Oh, yeah.
cold showers versus hot showers. Like there's a lot EMS. Like
Troubleshooting.
your home, unfortunately for some people, or your apartment can be the most toxic, the biggest source of endocrine disrupting toxic chemicals, including your bedding, your couch, all
Scary.
that. So not to be totally to freak you out, but your cooking appliances are a key first step, but there's many, many other steps.
Right.
And this is a journey. We haven't yet converted our yucky flame retardant infested
Yeah,
couch into a
disgusting
non
couch.
one because
Right.
we want to get a really cool couch and they're
Yeah.
expensive. But we'll share you strategies about how we can mitigate that through air filtering.
Yeah.
So really good question, canine dog training. I think that was Samantha. So all right, carrying on to the questions. Hiking beautiful Mammoth Lakes.
A lot of
Awesome.
coconut butter. I love coconut butter.
Yep,
And
there's
MCTs in it.
so Kathleen is hiking in SoCal, which is really, really cool. And she's asking, is there MCTs in coconut
a lot
butter?
of fiber. That's where all the fiber is for the coconut.
Most of coconut butters have the coconut meat as well, which is
Yeah.
what we suggest because it's the least refined.
Yep.
Now, for some people, they're like, well, I want the most refined because I want the C8, chain length for, because it's very ketogenic. In general, about 80% of the fatty acids in the coconut are short chain and they're ketogenic. So if you're exercising, your liver's making ketones anyway.
Right.
So go out, enjoy the coconut meat. Don't freak out about whether or not it has super critical levels of one particular short chain fatty acid.
Yeah, but I made some things actually with coconut butter. Was it Kathleen? I love coconut butter too, and it's a great, if I'm craving something sweet, it's got no sugar, well,
All
no
right.
added sugar to it, so it's just, fat bombs you can do, and we have that in our e-course too, how to make fat bombs, so.
Yes. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. For hiking.
Super easy,
Totally
takes 2
awesome.
minutes, it's awesome, so.
Really good. Really,
Yeah.
really good. Okay, so we have, Debbie says, hello from San Diego, enjoying your channel. Awesome, Debbie, thanks for tuning in. Okay, so Manuel says, I'm trying to figure out fasting. Can't get over my second wave of hunger. It usually comes after 40 hours of fasting. So a few things, why are you fasting for 40 hours? Is it because you need to lose a lot of weight? Do you have gut issues? Are you diabetic? Are you just are you fasting because you heard it was healthy? Not everyone needs to go for 40 hours. If you're active and lean, I would definitely not recommend actually doing that. Unless it's like a once a quarter.
Yeah, once in a while.
Every 3 months.
Yeah, that would be tough though. Like 24 hours is pretty easy once you do it once or twice, but 48 hours, I don't know.
After 40 hours, he gets a big wave, he said.
I think anybody would, really.
So, we
time.
obviously have interviewed Jason Fung and Jimmy Moore and like are believers in intermittent and intentional fasting, prolonged fasting. If you're healthy, lean, I don't know that it's totally necessary.
Yeah. Wouldn't that be stressful on your thyroid? I don't know, you tell me.
Not so much thyroid, but you can lose muscle mass if you're lean and things like that. So if you look back in the videos of last fall, we were doing a ton of fasting because we were just totally
Just experimenting.
You can raise your blood ketones, get you into ketosis faster, but man, you can lose some strength. And so there's a trade-off there. So I would just
we don't want to lose muscle.
rewatch that video with Jason Fung if you're interested. If you just type in intermittent fasting in YouTube and check it out. The other thing with fasting and doing that is food is a strong inducer of our body's circadian rhythms. We talk about that with Alessandro Ferretti, which was an awesome interview all about time restricted feeding. So when you start doing really long fasts, you notice your gut health changes a little bit, right? You get constipated.
Totally.
And things.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the thing. So look, a 24-hour fast here and there, probably not a big deal. But do you really? Maybe
like if you're traveling, that's the perfect time to do it.
Totally.
If you're on a plane sitting on your butt all day. Yeah.
Yep.
Fast.
Or drink Gatorade. I'm just kidding. Yeah, definitely.
Have a squeezy pack.
Yeah.
Does that count? Have a latte from Starbucks.
It can change gut health, but not everyone should be doing 40-hour fasts.
No.
Not that it's bad, but there's a
no.
trade-off, and we're big fans. Like we're biased, totally biased in the sense that performance and having lean muscle is good for health. Therefore, always doing 40 or doing a lot of 40-hour plus fasts, that negatively affects performance. Sorry, I know there's people who disagree with me and stuff, but we've noticed it. I'm so sorry, guys. My allergies are.
Are you gonna sneeze?
I'm trying not to, but I'm
gosh.
like, anyway.
It's
All right,
like
so
therapeutic,
Manuel talks about that. Hello from Florida. Thanks for being here. Will coffee interrupt intermittent fasting? Coffee is ketogenic. Coffee will improve your sports performance, athletic performance. Will kind of suppress that mental fatigue so that you can perform harder at higher levels. So we're fans of coffee. Recently did a chat with Dominic D'Agostino. I'll show you in the membership area if you guys become members. And a bolus of caffeine can actually increase your liver's output of ketones. You can preferentially burn fat instead of glucose when you exercise. But if you're doing like a 24-hour fast, sometimes coffee,
And get organic coffee. Just gotta throw it out there.
and organic water.
And
Wait, what about the Keurig?
okay.
Just kidding.
Why do we get the coffee we get, Mike? Explain that.
Yeah, so we get the light roasted coffee. So,
And why?
well,
This is interesting. So this is new for me. So this is why I want you to talk about it.
so there's mixed data. There's mixed data on the cooking process of different foods that we eat, like advanced glycation end products, from charred boiled meat and over roasted coffee and things like that. So, is exogenous consumption of things that have been charred boiled, is that good or bad for us? Some research shows that it doesn't matter. Some research shows that it might cause cancer, might be linked with colon cancer. So as a practice, what we do is not try to overcook our food, charboil our food. We cook our meat and vegetables on low, simmer, use a lot of water in the cooking process, and so on. And coffee is just an extension of that. Do you want a really over-roasted coffee bean that's overheated? Probably not. Probably not the healthiest thing in the whole wide world. So we get light roasted coffee. The equal exchange coffee is what we get. There's all kinds of good coffees out there. And we use it making the French press. And make sure if you're going to use like a coffee machine, there's a lot of plastic and heat and water, in coffee making. That's why we like the French press. We have stainless steel, coffee, water, and glass. There's no leakage of endocrine disrupting chemicals that are going to affect our body.
And we grind our beans like 2 minutes before we make it. So there's something to be said for that too.
And it's a cool process. It gets you ready for the day. You have a little water beforehand.
Yeah.
So hello from Calgary. Thanks for tuning in. I love Calgary and Banff. We were there about last time. Pretend says, you guys don't get it. You can't eat too much fat. All right.
I think I disagree with
That's
that.
complete bullshit.
It's bullshit.
So anyway,
Bullshit.
keep being so biased. If you have too much fat, your body can't emulsify it or digest it. And if you go back to past episodes that we talk about, your small intestine can actually store lipids for up to 30 hours. So you can definitely have too much fat. So I know you're biased, Patrim. I've seen a lot of your comments and stuff like that. And I don't mean to get all upset here, but you're really, really biased and you're starting to kind of be to the point of annoying. So sorry if that's the cold hard truth here, but you definitely can have too much of anything. You can have too much water. You can have too much sex. You can have too much of anything.
Yeah.
Fat is no exception.
Moderation.
Jeez Louise. But that being said, there's this idea that fatty acids from exogenous sources like the food that we eat can actually be converted, obviously, via into this acetyl-CoA pool within the mitochondria, and that you can expel those molecules as acetone and so forth in the urine. So there is a small school of thought that says that, well, if you do have excess ketones and exogenous ketones and take a lot of MCTs and dietary fat in excess, that you'll just piss it out or breathe it out as acetone from this acetyl-CoA pool. Yeah. But that's assuming that everything else is working properly. And so that school of thought is going around in some circles in the ketogenic space. But again, we don't recommend just overdoing it on the fat for obvious reasons. Like I mentioned, metabolic endotoxemia, fat can be stored in your enterocytes in the gut for up to 30 hours. So you need to be mindful of that. And that's why we recommend in our e-courses and on this channel to compress your eating window.
Yes.
Don't eat 7, 8 small little meals a day that are loaded with fat, because that will, all right, while I'm looking at more comments and questions, talk about when 3 years ago when you were fat's
regarding the too much fat comment.
Too much fat.
Trust me, I've done that, and I'm like super type A. So I was doing everything that I was supposed to, adding salt. And I would wake up in the middle of the night and like throw up, and that's just not me. Like I just never get sick. And I was completely constipated. It was like an awful experience. And it wasn't just like me adapting or becoming fat adapted. Like it was seriously my body saying, dude, stop stuffing your body with all of this coconut oil. And
your gut was saying, dude?
It was saying that in my dreams. I swear. It was
cool.
It was saying that. Anyway, so it's just like, come on, like moderation. Like we all do this. We hear about some new trend and then we go like, it's like all or nothing. And that's just not the case, you guys. It's like balance, I mean, just cook with your coconut oil. If you're, overdoing the fat, you're going to get fat. Seriously, that's just how it is. You're going to do it. And some more than others. There's so many different factors, including environment.
Wait, you can gain weight on a ketogenic diet?
You could totally gain weight.
What?
Yeah, absolutely.
No way. I thought it was a cure-all. Like
I got
cured
completely
everything.
bloated, 3 years ago when I was
You just didn't
doing
do it right.
Yeah, no. I mean, I was even eating like twice a day. Like I was even doing the 4 to 5 hours in between meals. And ridiculous. So listen, I've done it because we like to test these certain things, and I just wouldn't recommend it if you're trying to be healthy, and especially if you're trying to lose weight. Just don't do it. But the time restricted feeding, I'm a huge fan of that. And it doesn't have to be consistent, okay? It doesn't always have to be, do I have to only eat between 2 and 6? No, guys, just go with it. If you're hungry in the morning, eat. If you're not, then don't. And that's tough for some people because maybe their hormones are really off. But if you incorporate some fasting, you'll kind of know what that feeling of hunger is. So I'd say 4 or 5 days a week, eat between 2 to 6, only because it goes along with my work schedule. I'm a chiropractor, a busy mom, and I own a paleo low carb food business. So it's like I'm super busy. So my eating time where I can relax, sit down, mindfully eat, and not be eating in my car is between generally 2 to 6, because we like to go hiking and stuff at night too. So that's just for me though. But our whole point is just giving your gut a break. That was my rant. Mm-hmm.
So everyone only eat between 2 and 6, right?
Only,
right? That's the only solution, the only time that you can eat.
So meaning I stop eating by 6. Sometimes it's 7.
You had ice cream last night.
Sometimes at 8. Sometimes I have ice cream.
We made homemade ice cream last night.
We went mountain or rock climbing beforehand, guys. It was so super
with
fun.
Coconut. That's one of the things we tell you how to do in the e-course. So if you want to learn how to make high-fat, low-carb ice cream right from your kitchen, that's totally dairy-free, click this link right here. Mm-hmm. Sign up. We're going to start. Our first coaching call is next Thursday afternoon. All right.
Woo-hoo.
So you said something that's real quick. I want to address the questions, but if I don't talk about this now, I'll forget this. So you said, some people can't intermittent fast because their hormones are off.
Right.
And I want to just add something to that. A lot of people have hormone dysregulation, whether it's thyroid issues or estrogen issues, low testosterone, because of excessive or imbalances when it comes to insulin signaling. So insulin disruption, insulin can perturb a lot of downstream metabolic pathways that are involved in hormone production, hormone synthesis, conversion of different hormones. So, a lot of doctors, I do a lot of consulting for a great company called Zymogen, exclusive professional formulas. I deal with a lot of doctors all the time. That's how I got into this whole space. And doctors will call me and say, hey, I have this, this patient that's estrogen dominant. What products do you have for that? And I say, well, first of all, I'll recommend things like berberine hydrochloride. This is Alamax Protect from Zymogen. I'll recommend things like Relax Max, which was one of our favorite all-time products. Guys, I'll put a link. I forgot to put that in the description. Someone just asked about magnesium, potassium, and electrolytes and taurine. So this product, Relax Max, it has myo-inositol, L-theanine, taurine, magnesium. It is a wonderful powder if you want to be keto and you want to balance your electrolytes and everything like that. But if you have issues with insulin signaling and hormones, so if you're unable to go for extended periods of time without food and you blame it on your hormones, you first need to work on your body's insulin sensitivity because your hormones are never going to become balanced if you're insulin resistant. And I know that's tough for some people. I've had some students in e-courses over the years that are like, you know what? I'm just not ready for exercise. I'm not ready to eat this way. I have to balance my hormones first. And I'm like, well, any doctor that heard that is going to tell you have it backwards. You need to eat right and start exercising, and then we can work on your hormones because we can't just add a bunch of kerosene to a fire. That can cause. So let's say a doctor says, oh yeah, your hormones are off. You have excess estrogen, low testosterone, and so forth. Well, and they put you on exogenous sources of hormones. Those hormones can be going through the metabolic pathways in dysfunctional upregulated metabolic pathways like 5-alpha reductase and so forth, be converted to DHT or be converted to estrogen via aromatase, all that. If your diet's not on point and you're not exercising, your hormones are going to be screwed up. So the point is diet, insulin sensitivity, gut health trump all. You have to work on that simultaneously. So sorry for the rant, but
Here's a good question. Wait, Dave.
Okay.
Where'd it go? Get back on there. He was talking about how do you avoid your BMR decreasing if you're like in a caloric deficit with like intermittent fasting or fasting in general.
Let's define BMR.
It's a great question.
So your basal metabolic rate. So that can shift when you dramatically shift calories around, up or down, right? And so you want to be a little bit consistent with that. And so this is actually the most common question that I get on the interview with Dr. Jason Fung about intermittent fasting. He says, in there that calories don't cause weight loss. And not everyone, but I get at least probably 5 comments a day. He just lost me with that comment. Calories don't cause weight loss. And just cutting the backstory and perspective and context to that comment is that by just cutting your calories, you're not changing the hormones involved that are regulating fat burning versus sugar burning versus storage.
Right.
Which that really, there's multiple hormones, leptin, adiponectin, and so on. But in that, video in particular, in that interview, we focus really on how fasting and time restricted feeding is a low insulin, is a strategy to modulate insulin and to compress how much insulin is released throughout the day. Right. Insulin, of course, is anti-ketogenic. Insulin slows down your liver's production of making ketones. Insulin promotes fat storage, and insulin prevents, free fatty acids from your fat tissue from being liberated to then being floating around in the body and being burned as fuel or being made into ketones in the liver.
Right.
So when he said that, he was like, yeah, just cutting your calories doesn't change insulin.
Well, also being inconsistent too. Again, just my thoughts on this. So when you're intermittent fasting, it's great, but like once in a while, just kind of like feast, sort of throw off, kind of challenge your body, because I think our bodies really thrive on inconsistency, for real. Consistent real food, but inconsistent like when you eat. I wouldn't suggest like
Not
3 in the
when you
morning,
eat.
but like just.
We're going to disagree on it.
Are we disagreeing?
We're like arguing.
No way. We're having a marital disagreement.
This never has happened.
May require counseling.
Oh my gosh.
Honestly, I want to know about this, really.
Yeah, so here's some interesting things. So check out the interview with Alessandro Ferretti. And here's what I agree with part of what you were saying about that inconsistency.
Okay.
Meaning like some days you have really high calories, some days you have low calories.
Right.
And I think pairing that with your exercise or your energy expenditure, how much exercise you're doing, that's, it makes sense, right? If you're not going to be driving your car around, you don't need to have like extra gas laying around your house. You know what I mean?
Right.
So when you go on a road trip, you fill up your gas tank. If you're not driving, you don't need to go get gas.
Right.
And we should be doing the same thing with food, I really feel like. And we talk about that with Alessandra Ferretti and Danny Lennon recently. But if you're constantly saying like, well, some days I have breakfast, some days I don't. Some days I skip dinner, some days I have a big lunch. Like
Right.
your gut, okay, you need to check out, sorry to promote my book, but the book Belly Fat Effect, this was published over 4 years ago now, all about circadian rhythms, okay? Circadian rhythms govern everything from testosterone release, estrogen release, adrenal output, cardiac output, how sleepy you feel in the evening. They govern everything. We can't be having this conversation without interweaving this notion of circadian rhythms. Food is a strong inducer, what they call entrainer of your body's circadian rhythms. So when you're constantly changing when you eat, you can throw off your body's biological clock. So while we do...
Dang it.
This is real. This is
You
real.
tell me this earlier.
We've talked about this.
I'm not that inconsistent. I'm kidding. But
No, Deanna is pretty consistent.
I'm pretty consistent.
But so you can be inconsistent with the total quantity of food that you eat per day based upon your activity level.
Calories.
But try to be mindful. Well, try to be mindful of eating at similar times throughout the day. Because now, if you don't have sleep issues, if you're not traveling, if you're a great sleeper, then you can kind of forget what I'm saying. But if sleep is an issue for you and you're going to be traveling soon, you got to check out that interview with Alessandro Ferretti.
Right.
As he talks about that. He's like, I've never been the best sleeper. And so I was using a lot of strategies like melatonin and things like that to affect my sleep. But, I really improved my sleep quality by just being more mindful and cognizant of my body's circadian rhythms and started eating at more consistent times, particularly when he's traveling. And so you mentioned fasting and so forth, and Carl had a great question about coming off a 10-day fast.
Whoa.
What is the best food to break the fast? Probably McDonald's. What do you think? No, I'm just kidding.
Good old French fries.
I think, a balanced meal would be good.
Personally, I'm having another disagreement with you. I would say... No, I'm just
Whiskey?
joking. I would say something just easy on the gut. Maybe like some blended vegetables. Like
Initially.
Yeah, I don't know. That's just...
That sounds good. Yeah.
because it might be tough just kind of like eating a big bolus meal. Maybe like just a healthy, low-carb, no sugar added smoothie. With some
Green
greens.
veggies.
Very nutrient dense. Yeah. And nothing too big, you know what I mean? Like just a normal, easy meal. Some people like to stuff their faces after fasting, and I don't think that's good. Not good.
Well, the GI tract doesn't forget what its main role is to break down foods and things like that, right?
Yeah.
But it's been relatively inactive. There hasn't been nutrients in there. So yeah, just something to kind of, something that's healthy,
Right.
high in fiber, high in phytonutrients, things we talk about in other cooking tutorials. Guys, we have playlists that are like low carb friendly. So some great things like that. But I would do something easy, sauteed zucchini with coconut milk, rosemary, garlic.
Cooked vegetables are a good idea too because they're easier to digest.
Yeah.
than just
Borscht.
the raw. Oh, I just made that. So
We did
good,
borscht.
guys. I'm gonna make a raw one tonight.
Okay, we're gonna go back to the question. Sorry for deviating and all this sort of stuff. We've
did
already
a
been
lot.
37 minutes. Oh
Oh
my
my
gosh.
gosh. Jeez. We
Craziness.
ramble
Okay,
sometimes.
so ask Nurse Cindy. She says intermittent long-term 72-hour fast, pre and post-menopause women. So, we did actually address this. If you're just coming on, ask Nurse Cindy. We did address that about 10, 15 minutes ago. So I would definitely check that out. Watch the interview with Alessandro Ferretti and Jason Fung. So not to deviate from that question, but for people that have been watching the whole thing, I don't want to repeat that. So ask Nurse Cindy. We addressed that. Hopefully it makes sense. Why are you fasting? Why are you fasting for so long? We are personally a fan of, you can get a lot of the same benefits that you would get from fasting from exercise. Yeah. And so we definitely are biased in that, openly biased, totally biased in that regard. We prefer exercise over fasting and eating within your body's circadian rhythm. A periodic 12, 24-hour fast, totally cool. 72-hour fast, it's only going to slow down exercise performance.
And exercise. Did I just cut you off? I'm sorry, Mike. I didn't mean to.
Yeah.
I didn't mean It happens. But regarding exercise, not just, going to a class or hitting the gym, like being active all day long. Like we're going to go garden after this, then we're going to hit the gym, then we're going to go, walk the dogs, and just always moving your body and challenging. Not always intense, just like moving is really important, not sitting at a desk. And if you do put your watch on and let it beep every 30 minutes, you get up and move. I'm a chiropractor, so I'm really sensitive to this issue. Also for back pain as well. And we have Fitbits now, and they've been great. They hold us accountable for how many steps. We kind of like compete against each other some days. And
She always kicks my butt.
yeah, lately.
Yeah, 30,000 steps.
I'm going for 30,000 today. I am.
Most weekends, I'll get around 20. She gets around 30,000 steps. And so, I mean, we have like 4,000 steps before noon from just like our walk, the garden stuff. I mean, we're not even like going into the gym and doing cardio.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get back to some of the questions. So, Pratrim says, do animals eat at similar times during the day? No, they eat when they get food. That's a good point. Can't argue with that at all. So, thanks for that. Can't argue with that. I'm just going off the circadian rhythm research. But actually, I would slightly argue with that. Now that we have 19 chickens, we have a pretty good idea of like when animals eat. They eat first thing in the morning, and then they sporadically eat throughout the day. So if we're using an N of 1 example of chickens, I will say that, every morning they're like pecking at the door waiting for food. So they do eat during, it's, scheduled times during the day. They go to bed every night. Oh my gosh, I can't wait to make this video for you guys. We have the footage. Every single night at 8:30.
Oh my gosh, it's the cutest thing. Our poor apple tree, though.
They climb into our apple tree and then they go into their coop. It doesn't matter if it's cloudy. It doesn't matter, what Donald Trump said on Twitter. They're going to bed at 8:30. Like, it's crazy.
5 in the morning I'm not up at 5, but like 6 in the morning, they're ready to they come after me, those chickens. Like they attack me. They're on the porch and I open the door and I swear if I were to lay on the ground, I'd probably be attacked by our chickens. It's scary. They're hungry.
No feet. Just kidding. Okay, so let's get back to your questions. Thanks for asking all these questions, guys. Now, let me just pause. Our next question is from Jinder. It says, I eat between 2 p.m. and 6 p.m. That's what Deanna said. So really compressing that feeding window to 4 hours. So 24. That's so awesome. Julian Bell says, for optimal health, it's all about moving the lymphatic system daily. I couldn't agree with you more. Jillian, thanks for that. The lymph system is the highway of our immune system. And if it's stagnant, well, guess what? We're going to have inflammation and so on. So super, super important tip. And guys, if you're still on, which close to 200 of you that are here, please hit that like button. If you like what we're talking about, it's just right down here. Hit that button, subscribe to the channel if you want to get notified when we are doing more videos like this. We're launching interviews like the one we just launched this morning with Danny Lennon. Definitely check that one out. It's really, really cool.
I have a question, sorry, Mike, regarding the 4-hour window. So my thoughts on that, like how many meals are you having? Is it just one?
You eat every hour, dude.
I mean, should you not, and this is for you, Mike, should you not wait about 3 hours in between meals? And if so, would that 4-hour, I guess it would work, but like.
So eating at 2 and then eating again at 6. So it's a 4-hour in between.
Yeah,
That's plenty of time.
Got it. All right. Yeah. But I was just thinking about like when you have like a little more fat, like how long does it take for that to process and break down in your system? So that's why I prefer the 6 because I feel like sometimes I can go for 5 hours and then I'm truly hungry and ready to eat again.
Totally, me too.
That's just my thought.
Yeah, I personally, if I only go 4 hours, like I'm still full from the meal before.
Yeah, me too.
And we're not eating a ton of food, but just eat,
like a normal big
3
salad.
eggs, some avocado, stuff like that. Like that will carry me for a very long time.
Yeah.
No, I'm totally different. My mom, that might keep her satiated for 2 hours. Like everyone is so different. Like some people, it depends on your metabolism, how insulin sensitive you are, how much you exercise, and so on.
Right.
Okay, so really good question, Jillian. Ormus, I don't know what that means, Blake, but Luke says best advice for moving lymph. So exercise. I know it sounds crazy, but just exercise, moving your body is really good for lymph. Yeah. Lymph, flow. There's obviously dry brushing, but just get out and move. We have a trampoline in our backyard, so we bounce on that with our daughter, and man, that moves everything.
It's so fun.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. So
even just running, walking, I think the infrared sauna and heat via a sauna is a really good way to move lymph too. Because you're causing increased circulation and flow. Yeah. And then, what I like to do is like drain the sweat off, like this, and just kind of, so you're moving lymph and you can see just tons of sweat come off. Make sure you have the Redmond's Real Salt.
You always forget that name.
I don't know why. It's just
Redmond's
in the
Real
package.
Salt.
Yeah, we're going to catch up next week, guys, with James D. Nicolantonio. Awesome podcast. He's got a great book out all about salt. So I'll put that link in this video. Okay, so for building muscle and fat loss, what's optimal post-workout meal? I read that it's not optimal to have high fat up to 2 hours post-workout. So this is a really good question, Robin. There's a lot of schools of thought about this. Some people are saying now, and I believe it, to a certain extent, you don't really need to eat in the post-workout window because your body's releasing all these hormones and all that, and you're causing this adaptive stress. My school of thought, and this can change, based upon how intensely you're working out. Mm-hmm. If you did a really intense workout, right, you're going to be probably hungry after that. Like squatting, deadlifting, pull-ups, rows, overhead presses. Yeah, why experiment with the body and why restrict nutrients? Mm-hmm. There's a lot of good research of having a bolus of branched-chain amino acids, particularly leucine. We're going to catch up with Dr. Gabrielle Loin all about leucine and muscle protein synthesis.
That's such a great one. I love that.
That's why you got to subscribe to the channel, friends.
Because she talks about just when to eat protein and some really interesting things I've learned just about how much protein on days you lift. It's not what you think. You got to see it. It's really cool.
You actually should eat more protein on days you don't lift because you're not getting the stimulus to drive mTOR because you can stimulate muscle protein synthesis from leucine, from insulin or exercise. So interesting stuff. So here's what I would suggest. This was Ramon. It depends on your body fat level. Okay. So if you're working out, let's assume that you're working out hard, you're doing full body movements, not isolated exercise like arm curls and forearm curls and all this funky stuff people do. You're really hammering it in the gym. What I would suggest is have some protein afterwards. So this can be whey protein, this can be real food. What a lot of the bodybuilding, folks in that space in CrossFit are just turning to real food. For a long time, we've had supplements. I admit we have Zymogen, Fit Food, whey protein, and all that in our cupboards, and we do take whey protein. Yeah. But I think it's best to just have real food afterwards. Yeah. And protein is good. Mm-hmm. So you can get that from vegetables. If you're vegan or vegetarian, you can do that with pea protein, with a little bit of rice protein, as long as it doesn't have a lot of arsenic. So just understand that. Or you can supplement with synthetic amino acids, and that will increase mTOR. Now, if you want to have a lot of carbohydrates in that meal, if your exercise was intense and you were training really, really hard, and your next exercise training session is pretty soon thereafter, 12, 24 hours after, then sure, you can have some carbohydrates there to replenish that glycogen. We talk about that in much more depth on our e-courses, guys, which you can learn about by clicking this little card button there. So Alex says, my girlfriend, where did it go? Oh my gosh, we have so many comments. Okay, my girlfriend and I have been IF, juicing, blending, eating grass, fed meats, etc. on keto for about a year, and she's off birth control now. Any help for acne? So anytime we see skin issues, we think gut issues, and also deficiencies or alterations in vitamin A, vitamin E, vitamin D, vitamin K, some of those fat-soluble vitamins. So we think acne, we got to go to the gut and then look at hormones as well. So what I would suggest, Alex, is wherever you live, if you need recommendations, let me know. Look up a functional medicine practitioner that can really work on gut health. So we're looking at things, like food sensitivities, food allergies, microbial imbalances. I would want to know questions, from your girlfriend, like, was she breastfed? Was she, was she breastfed? Was she C-section delivered baby? All those things, like how much microbiome work do we need to do? You might want to look at fecal microbiota transplantation. So if you're on the West Coast, those are all options. But yeah, we want to look at the gut and look at those micronutrient deficiencies that I mentioned. So there's some research articles. If you look at my LinkedIn profile, I just happen to remember this because this was a long, long time ago that I shared this article, but that acne can be caused by microbial imbalances on the skin. And that can be, of course, caused by gut microbial imbalances and so on.
So also watch what she's putting on her face too. If she hasn't changed her makeup, if she wears makeup, make sure it's non-toxic, natural makeup. And that'll really help too, because what you put on your body is just as important as what you eat. And also household products, so all those different things. And I think the sauna would really help too, to help detox.
Detox, yeah.
So whenever I'm having skin issues, I don't often, thank goodness, but like if I do, I always do the sauna, and it really helps. Yeah.
So your skin is a systemic organ that communicates with the entire body. And so environmental toxins, microbial imbalances can affect that. So Gloria says, when since starting a low carb diet, I fall asleep after having buckwheat pancakes. Well, so you may be very, very ultra low insulin since starting keto, and then you're having this bolus of carbohydrates. Your body's like, oh my gosh, what do I do? So it releases a lot of insulin, and then your blood sugar goes below baseline, and then you feel tired.
Yeah.
So that could be part of the reason. There's other reasons too. But if you like your buckwheat pancakes and they're a little treat, then just do it.
They're
Go
yummy.
for it periodically. Not every single day.
No.
Moderation is
They're
key.
a treat. They're good, though.
And so forth. So Piotr says, what about hypothyroidism and IF? Sorry if I mispronounce your name. I'm sorry. Should we worry about thyroid issues? Why should we worry about thyroid issues? There's this misconception going around on the internet that ketosis and thyroid are linked and connected. They're really not. A lot of Hashimoto's and Graves and hypothyroidism is autoimmune induced. There's a lot of anti-inflammatory properties associated with the main ketone body called beta-hydroxybutyrate. So I think a very great remedy or tool for Hashimoto's or autoimmune thyroid in general is a ketogenic diet. Why? It's low insulin. We can have more even energy levels. And it turns out that due to the metabolic changes associated with nutritional ketosis, that means mitochondrial upregulation and mitochondrial biogenesis and so forth, that maybe we don't need as much thyroid hormone levels. So we do see a reduction in T3 levels in some people when they are keto. Does that mean that they're tired? Does that mean that they're fatigued? Does that mean that they're making more reverse T3? No, not necessarily. So that's what I would suggest is our body becomes more efficient when we, and I've learned this from Alessandro Ferretti and others, so when we're burning fat for fuel, our mitochondria is much more efficient. So maybe, just maybe, one reason why some studies, not all studies, but some studies have shown a reduction in free T3 levels in keto people versus non-keto people is that their body just doesn't need as much thyroid hormone.
I'm learning here.
Yeah,
Full
so
of knowledge.
it doesn't mean that it's bad. Now, if you go keto and you're really tired and your hair is falling out and the lateral part of your eyebrows out and you're getting edema everywhere and you can't burn fat, then we have a problem.
Yeah.
But most people don't report that. So those are my thoughts. Beware of all the people that are out there that are anti-keto and don't believe in this. Ketosis is a natural biological phenomenon. That's what your liver makes ketones for a reason. When you exercise, you make ketones. So if it was that bad, why would our body still have this hardwired metabolic, machinery working? It would have been deselected for.
So DW, just real quick, the raw honey question, is it considered sugar? Yes, it's sugar. Coconut sugar, cane sugar, white sugar, brown sugar. It's all
Bubblegum shrimp,
sugar.
bubblegum soup.
I mean, a better option, I believe, but it's still sugar.
Yeah.
It's gonna spike your insulin. So just in super moderation.
Moderation. It can be used as a treat. Honey is a treat. It's not to be avoided at all costs by any means.
I think I hear our daughter
So
coming up.
Pratim says when you start a 72-hour fast, it will really kickstart ketosis. Really good tip. Thanks, Pratim. Love it. Samantha says off to Mount Baker. All right, I'm jealous.
Totally.
Tag a picture on Instagram. All right, so we're at 52 minutes, friends. We're gonna part ways. Our daughter, we can hear her getting up
Yep,
and stuff
she's
like
gonna-
that.
She might show
Maybe-
her presence here.
Yeah, I'm sure our YouTube friends
Oh,
will meet
she
her.
just went to her bedroom.
Did she?
She's camera shy. Yeah.
She's camera shy. Guys, well, I really, really appreciate you tuning in and watching all the way through. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please hit that like button right below. Subscribe to the channel if you want to learn more about nutritional ketosis. Take a deep dive and learn how to have a low-carb, high-fat diet that's also friendly for your microbiome. You got to sign up for our e-course, a Keto Lean Masterclass, which click this link right here, this little card, that little button, little eye. Click that link, sign up. We're going to start next Thursday. Well, there's a lot of content that you can actually consume right now, but next Thursday is going to be our first coaching call. You want to get on there so that all these questions like this, we can help troubleshoot and customize and personalize a low-carb, high-fat diet that's microbiome friendly for you. So that's what we're going to help. We're going to help navigate you. We're not experts. We've just been tinkering and testing for a very long time, so we're going to help you, and we've worked with a lot of other people. So, and we've also interviewed over 200 experts on this podcast, so I've collected a lot of information. You're going to get bonus videos, behind-the-scenes content, and most importantly, access to our private Facebook group, which features a lot of really cool recipes so that you're not just having processed meat like bacon and eggs and butter all day long.
Right.
You can have a very high vegetable, ketogenic friendly diet, which will help your microbiome, help your immune system, help you burn fat for fuel, and lower inflammation in your body, and hopefully enhance your overall health, which is always the goal. So we're going to sign off. If you want to connect with Deanna,
connect with me.
On IG.
IG.
So Deanna's really
I love
active
Instagram. It's fun. It's at Real Food Lab, LAB, and then Metabolic Mike.
Metabolic Mike.
Yeah.
So that's it. I'm going to be watching the comments. If you're watching the replay, I really appreciate you tuning all the way in. Let's end it with our chickens. We're going to show you Margaret. She is cruising in our
Large Marge.
backyard. We're going to sign off, guys. Thanks for tuning in.